Hello, 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 and welcome. Welcome to today's installment of Created for More, the podcast. So, today's show, I am super excited about. When I found this guest on Instagram, I was like, whoa, I've got to have her because there are layers of wisdom that she unpacks in just such an easy manner that I thought, you know what, I know that it will definitely be of benefit to have her here in the studio to pour out and dish out some of that for you, my esteemed listeners. Her name is Zvisineyi Zvisineyi Chiromo, and she's a relationship coach. She's a coach who is based in Nairobi, Kenya. Hello to all my Kenyans out there who are listening to this podcast. I'm reading her bio, and it says here that she supports people in healing relationship based trauma through a blend of psychology and solution based coaching principles. She holds a BA in international relations, an MSc in human resource management, and she's currently in her final year doing an MA in marriage and family. According to her, the people she works with have a deep need to heal love's wounds, to cultivate relational honesty, and are courageously discarding what no longer serves their emerging selves. Oh, love it. She refers to them as heroes on a journey to healthy, authentic, more loving relationships, both personally and professionally. I just love your bio. The line there about shredding, discarding, getting rid of what no longer serves your higher good, that tells me that you're my person, because that is my lingo as well. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Visi. It is amazing to have you.
Thank you so much, Sondra. I am really excited to have this conversation with you. And yeah, let's get going.
Let's get going. I always start by asking my guests to introduce themselves because obviously I've got this little script, but nothing compares to you telling us about who you are from your lips, telling us about, the essence of you. Who are you? What is the essence of you?
Wow, that's a big question. But I think the best way to answer that, I like to feel myself into answering these questions on a personal level. Zvisi, Zvisi is a Shona girl. I'm from Zimbabwe. Mm-hmm. Came into this world speaking the Shona. They came taught to speak the Shona language. Mom and dad, originally, I came into the world into a grieving family. So I feel as if that's where everything started for me. Now that I know myself more and I continue to learn who I am, I came into the world a month after my dad died.
Oh, wow.
So I've been very attuned to noticing the nuances around connection and disconnection in relationships based on that. So my mom was grieving. She had 3 other kids before. So we have 4 in our family. Mm-hmm. And I'm the baby. Mm-hmm. And dad was no longer there. So I came in wailing. And I wailed for a very long time, months. Towards a year is when I was named. And that's when I got my name, Zvisineyi. And Zvisineyi means several versions of despite of, in spite, it shall be well. One of those versions, I prefer to use it as well, and I continue to use that because obviously it wasn't okay when I came into the world, but eventually it became okay. Wow. So that's where I like to introduce myself that way. So I'm a baby of a mama who had 4 babies and of a father who has been watching over us since I was born. Yeah. So in terms of relationships, I've been very attuned to watching and seeing how people struggle. And since even I was young, before I even began to practice and learn and to do the psychology around relationships, I've always been able to decipher things for people in a simple way, the things that they're struggling with. And that's how I came to now start coaching. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love the context around it. The fact that you sound to me like, as you said, that you were able, you've been very discerning from a very, very young age, because you've been attuned to pain, you've been attuned to trauma. And where some people can look at that and say, but God, why me? Why did that have to be me? I want to be attuned to joy. I want to be attuned to living on a yacht somewhere. How do you reconcile that? How do you reconcile that? For people who are hurting or have been in contexts where there is deep hurt and trauma, how is it for you where you're able to talk about it without, obviously I don't know what it's like for you in your personal time, but you can talk about it and in almost an appreciative sense that, I don't know if it's right to say, but that's the sense that I get. It's almost like, yes, this is who I am, and this is where I'm from, and I know that it adds to me rather than takes away.
Wow, it's a mixture of faith, and that came at a much later stage, by the way. But I would say, I think for anyone who may resonate with growing up, I've never felt less than or not had. I only noticed that, for example, that my dad wasn't there when I started to go to school, and other dads would be there, for example. So perhaps my story may resonate more with people who've always known their story as such. Other people have traumas when they grow older. So that is a much harder battle to climb. Yeah. So I would say for the first half of my life, and I'm very proud to say my age, I'm 42. I've been married for 21 years of those 42 years. So I know.
It's so young, like half your life.
Yes, it is actually half my life. So I always tell people I've been married for or more than half my life. It feels like I've been married all my life. So I say that in context because the first half of my life was watching a mother, really doing her best to care for four little people who had to grow and become self-sufficient. Watching a fierce woman love and love and love and love so that we would also continue that love into our own families. And then the second half, I was granted the gift of a partner who managed to hold my hand still. So, but for those people who may feel that you were raised in a situation that really challenges your capacity to thrive, it depends on the scenario that they find themselves in. I was lucky enough to be granted an attachment figure in my mother who fought for me, who fought for my siblings. So I can understand there are certain people who may not have had that, they may not have had that. I don't like to use words like blessings or what, but they may just not have had a parent or parents or some form of caregiver who showed them the way. So for me, a lot of that was the fact that I was in the trauma by my own mom, who was also facing her own traumas, by the way. But she somehow harnessed her support system, herself, her faith, to give us to shield us from a lot.
Shield, that's the word, shield.
Yes. So until we were able now to start seeing the reality that life may not be that kind, but at least we had kindness in us. So we do not go out and exude, what is the opposite of unkind? Or exude, unworthiness, or exude pain, or expose it and project it onto others. We were protected in that sense. So my story comes from being taught that way in the midst of pain and hurt and grief and, perhaps having less than, the community members and whatnot. But we knew that we had everything.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So I can go on and on, but for now, I think that's it.
I love it. I like what you said there. So I'm just trying to think about the inverse of this, right? So you obviously were encapsulated. You were in this, bubble of love, as it were. So you weren't feeling necessarily the impact of everything that had happened to you. So when people don't have that, impenetrable shield, people who, for instance, had trauma and, they're having to feel the impact of the trauma. I mean, how does one, I know and this is the work you do, right? How does one now start to, I don't even know the question I'm asking, because I know it's so deep. I don't even know how to even unpack it, but perhaps there's a way that you can even start. But for people who are listening to that and say, well, Zvisi is lucky, I don't like using the word luck. She's blessed to have been like that, but I didn't have that experience. I was, maybe raped, or I was this, or whatever their own trauma is. How do they then start to pick up themselves? And I'll give you a bit more context. So this show is all about created for more. So we talk about how we can be our higher selves, we can do more, we can be more, and we can have more. I'm all about inspiring people to live as the greatest form, whatever form that is, of themselves, right? So one of the things I was saying to you just before we started recording was, I am very, 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 I see your work online, and I just think it's so inspiring because you've got so much depth. One of the things I want us to be able to do is to help people who know that, yes, I am created for more and I want to do more, but I can't discard. I think that was the word you used in your bio. I can't discard of these things that are holding me back because I just didn't have any shields around me, and I've had to go through this, difficult period. How does one even start that journey to first heal and then start to do more? If you can answer that.
Yes.
Wow. If you can find the question in that, please answer
it. Yes. No, I can find the question in that. I would start by saying, start where you are. From the people I've worked with, mostly women, I find that by the time someone is reaching out to me to ask for help, to have a conversation, they have gone through their own resources and they've exhausted it. They've exhausted their friends, whoever else, the church, whoever else that they had. And they are now at a point where they are ready to face themselves. Yeah, because when you do get someone outside your community, you are now at a place where this person knows you not. They do not know you. I do not know you when you first come to me most of the times. And at that place, you are needing answers, and the answers are coming from you. That's number one. Number two is being compassionate at the level of which your pain resides. Because without surrendering to the fact that I am in pain, a lot of people continue to persevere and build a resilience level that does not serve them anymore. There's a difference between pushing through and being resilient, because you can push through pain till it no longer makes sense. And then there's a resilience that we take with us and we help others, they help us. That's different.
I need you to unpack that. That is such a loaded statement. You can push through pain till it doesn't make sense. There's a difference between pushing through pain and taking from pain, learning from it, and doing it. The first one is what I don't get as much. Yeah. How does someone push through pain like that? What do you mean?
So, context?
Yes.
The culture in which I'm raised, and I don't speak generally, if whoever will hear this who comes from Zimbabwe, who is a Zimbabwean, may have a different version from me. However, generally from the women I work with who are from my culture, we are taught to the word is called shinga in Shona, to be strong. And you are strong and strong and strong and strong. There's never a point at which you can say, no, it's time and I'm done being strong. It is you hold the torch for your family, you hold the torch for your husband, you hold the torch for your husband and your kids and your community. So based on what the generations past and the current generation of women who are raising families, who are working, who are doing their very best, there is a time at which you can tell that it's no longer useful, it's no longer adaptive to keep holding on to this strength based on what is happening around you. So I want to try and give you a clearer example of what that looks like.
I get it though. But if you want,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
I do.
Yeah.
I do
I'll think about it as I go along. But what I'm trying to say is, as women, particularly, even as men, I like to work on both sides. I never say women, we must push and fight and be, yes, women empowerment 100%, but we have the men still. How do we serve them? How do we help them also to come out of the status quo that told them that they are supposed to maybe have oppressive ways in relationships? So when I say there is a point at which it no longer makes sense, your mental health is no longer okay. You're no longer able to make sense of your situation. Even articulating yourself that I have a problem is so difficult because your trauma has reached a level at which even your mindset can no longer figure out where my problem started and where it's going to end. How am I going to get out of this? Even the people who have been telling you to stick with it are also in problematic situations such as yourself. But it's always better to have strength in numbers. Misery loves company. So I find
misery loves company. Tell me about
really,
it.
Exactly. So when you try to break away, someone will bring you back. That's generally the principle of being in a context in which everyone is suffering. When you try to leave, for example, a bad relationship, when you try to say no, to say I am being abused and I need to go to the police, and people say we can't do that, we don't do that.
We don't do that.
Yes, your husband will stop paying fees. What are you going to do? Exactly. You always end up coming back to that old status quo. So that resilience level is what I'm saying. There's resilience, but then there's a point at which it doesn't mix.
Oh, I love it. Do you know what? I now get what you're saying, and I wrote about it in my book. Funny enough, I have a chapter on resilience, and I talk about in the chapter on resilience what I call, obviously, resilience is good, but I called it the slippery slope of resilience, and I called it desensitization to adversity. So after a while, people get desensitized because, as you say, in my side, I know you talked about what they call, in my side, they just say Nasoi B, in Nigeria, they'll say Nasoi B, everyone is like that, it go better, like it will be better one day, but for now, let's just stay like this. And that is how people stay in these oppressive relationships, toxic situations, and they become desensitized to it because they just look left and look right, as you say, misery love company. Everyone is in the same thing. So it's like we're all in the same boat, So at the end of the day, why should I feel like I'm better than other people for wanting to break out? So I love how you've put it in context. But yes, as you say, resilience really is being able to, take the meat from the situation, take the learning, take the things, and being able to churn it out, bounce back, and use that in a different way. But thank you for that. But continue. You were saying two things or three things, and I think you were on the second one.
And I want to come back to what you originally asked, so that I can answer it as succinctly as possible about how do you then say, I'm in this traumatic situation, I'm in this situation, and I don't know how to start, where to start.
Yes.
I think first of all, the context around we are both Africans. There's no language for trauma in Africa. So as much as we have mental health and the resources around how to deal with it in 2023, in our original context, there was never an understanding of this is what it would look like should you be in a situation where you are overwhelmed and you are no longer coping. And this is what you must do. So there's no formula around that for within many African contexts. I do appreciate that there are traditional means in which problems are solved in Africa. But the issues to do with having faced relational-based traumas, parents that were unavailable, caregivers perhaps who abused you in one way or another, sexually, physically, emotionally, psychologically, neglect, all those never really found, besides being removed from your situation or having some form of group of elders deal with your situation, what is left within your mind, within your heart, is not fixed. That's where most of us walk around with pain that people do not see. So for that man or that woman who knows that they are created for more and feels that there's something within them that has not yet been addressed, one, I said, it's being compassionate with where you are, to understand that this is where I am. Number two, knowing that I need help. I don't know how to do this myself. I've tried so many ways and I've tried it over and over and it's still not working. I need help. Number three is now looking for the right kind of help. And I think that probably takes a person having a trusted network of people and an understanding within themselves that when I open myself up to say, I want to look for help, I need to be clear about what it is that I'm asking for. And I need to ask certain people that in my heart I know can guide me in the right direction. Because our families love us. I don't think that is not true. In most cases anyway. Our friends love us, yeah. But they may not really know how to help you in the right way. So allow room to be open for yourself to see beyond the people in your current context and say, there are people who will help me. How do I find them? It's asking the questions now, whether it's asking through a prayer, whether it's asking the universal question, as they are now saying, I need help and I need to find someone who can guide me through this pain that I cannot even name because I do not have a language.
See, this is the thing, and this is the question that how do you address something that you can't even name? There's some, and they telltale signs that, look, I am in trouble, but perhaps I'm not even aware of it, because some people, the mind tries to protect us. That's the job of our brain, and when we're in each crisis, it tries to protect us, gives us a story that helps us cope, so that we can navigate the challenges that are before us. But are there telltale signs? Are there things that are able to indicate that you are not okay? Do you see what I mean? Is it that easy to be able to see? Because I wonder if I wonder the percentage of people who are going through life suboptimally, who have trauma that they are dealing with and are not even aware. As you say, they can't name it, they don't know. So there's they can't name it, they know there's something, and they say they can't name it, they don't even know, but they just feel out of sorts.
I think that feeling out of sorts and being able to identify what that looks like, because every individual experiences their own trauma differently. So the key signs of trauma based on the mental health diagnoses. So some of them I can just name them right now. There is a sense of having gone through an overwhelming experience that you were not able to cope, whether it was being in the room, whether it was a death, witnessing something violent, or you yourself having been perpetrated in some violent or almost a way in which you felt like you were going to die. That's number one. Number two is a sense of not being able to identify yourself with your emotions. You can't feel. You've stopped the ability to feel. You know that you want to feel. I'm supposed to feel happy in this moment. My friends are looking happy. Why can't I be happy? Yeah. I'm supposed to be crying in this moment, but somehow a part of me is shut down. Right? That's a sense of dissociation. There are also signs such as inability to make conscious choices and being confused in times in which you want to make sense of something that may even be so simple that you can't remember. And then there's really a sense of dysregulation. You're out of sorts, you are panicky, or you are numb. You don't know the difference between, so you can tell that other people. So an easy way is when you are in a normal situation, what seems normal, and other people are reacting in a different way than you. And you tend to do that, and you've been doing that for years probably, or months, depending on when your trauma happened. You can tell that there is something within me that is shut down, that cannot reach what other people can reach.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And in relationships, you might even be with someone who truly cares about you, but somehow you find a way to push them away because you can't believe that this is happening to you. You can't believe that you can actually be loved in this way. Right? So there's a lot we can talk about around that, but I think a simple litmus test is to see and to look back on your previous experiences in certain situations which you feel, I actually think I overreact or underreact in certain situations, unlike other people. Because a lot of people forget what happened to them, by the way. Yeah, they repress and they don't know. And now they're thinking, man, how I feel out of sorts, but I don't know what to say about it. It's something that is probably, because what happens with trauma is your mind fragments all your memories around the incident. So you can't put all the dots together. It's like a page in a book that is torn up. And you kind of have to put it all back together. But with trauma healing, you need trauma specialists to help, because people day to day cannot identify where you are so triggered, cannot understand why you don't like touch, cannot understand why you try to stay away. So there has to be a lot of discernment around this. And I think one thing I can say is to give people grace to understand that they don't know what you went through. It's hard to do that, but people really don't know. As lay people, we are ignorant. We don't know the dynamics around helping people who have gone through adversity. So we can be very insensitive. Yeah, we can think people are, and so lack social skills. We don't want to be with people, especially if I can point out one thing right now, especially when it comes to women who need help, because this happens in majority of women. That's why I'm saying women who need help, because we keep thinking, why are they going back to an abusive relationship? And we get tired. Yeah, we have a big problem of getting frustrated when someone keeps saying, I'm going to go back to him. And we've helped you come out. Why are you going back? But these are the dynamics that we do not understand, we do not see, but they require a lot of grace from the part of the people supporting that person, and the grace of herself who is going back, because she's doing her best. She doesn't know anything else. She is stuck and frozen in time and continues to go back to the thing that continues to feed that trauma, unfortunately. Yeah. So I know I've said a lot. I don't know whether you.
So good. So good. I am torn. My mind is in two places because I want to go down two different paths, but God help me. So first of all, the first one I want to ask is there any benefit for some people? Because I know that there's some people, when you talk about, they dissociate and all of these things, they don't feel as much, they're out of sorts. Yes, there's some people that, yes, there will be benefit in doing this trauma healing and all of that. But are there points where then it becomes, the benefit somewhat becomes eroded, because when you start to then unravel, you unravel so much that it's like, you were a bit, you were better put together before. Now you've gone to this healing. Now you're crying every day. You're doing all just what I mean. So my question is, for some people, are there some instances where, you know what, it's best to just not stir the hornet's nest. Just leave it there the way it is. At least you're managing yourself and you're going, because as you say, there are fragmented memories. You don't really get it, but healing requires you to go there, as far as I know. So is it always beneficial to go back and heal?
That's really an awesome question. How I would answer that is to truly, my mandate is to help you to become your most authentic self in a loving relationship. And for you to do so, you need to open yourself up to those shut down, essentially, crack yourself wide open for you to be able to see who you really are. And for you to be able to love in a way that is beneficial for both you and the people you love. However, I do appreciate that not everyone gets to the place where they want to face their pain, because some pains, as I said, are so much more difficult than others. So I would say it's a matter of time. I truly believe that, and I will use this as a Christian, that God continues to knock and ask you, I'm here, I want you to see this. Every so often he does that. And we hear it. I mean, you can take this into context of whatever, religion or belief you have, or your own personal thinking. Something in you is always telling you, I'm not all right. I'm not all right. I'm not all right. And I need you to attend to me. Because the thing about emotions is they are there to be felt. When you numb one emotion, you numb all emotions. So you never become your truest self, because as long as you are afraid to open those deepest of wounds, even these small wounds, you never really heal them, by the way. So it works for a time. And I will say this as a disclaimer. If you are to do trauma work, true trauma healing, you need to get a qualified psychotherapist to do such work. A qualified trauma specialist to do such work, because there are different trauma treatments. What we do not want to do is to re-traumatize someone and leave them open and worse than they came. So yes, in a way, I will say yes, there are times in which it's better to leave it. I also believe even that dissociation can help you to separate yourself for a time from something, but not forever. At some point, you can be strong enough. What people like me do, and the trauma specialist, the psychotherapist, which I am on a journey to becoming one myself, do, is to strengthen you enough to give you the skills, the way, the foundation for you to open that. You cannot open it because I will tell you, there is no trauma therapist who will start dealing with your trauma the day you come. That is unethical. We first help you to become strong enough to see it, to sit in it, to stand with it. And at each point, we help you to open it, close it. Open it, close it, until it becomes small enough and you are able to contain it within you as part of your life story. I deal in stories. I deal in a whole trajectory from the time you were born to the time you are now and to the future you have. We will work on fortifying you to open up portions of your book. So if your book started in, say, 1990, and today we're in 2023, we are only on chapter such and such. So we open that book, and at each place, we make sure that that chapter is coherent enough for you to say, I read it again, and I can say, okay, I'm now all right. I don't feel as much pain. I can read this, I internalize it, and I own it as my life. I'm no longer afraid. I'm no longer finding difficulty in it. So I'm a narrative person. There are other therapists who do things differently, and we all have our own ways. But that's why it's good to match yourself with someone who you want to work with in the way that they work. Because all of us do things differently. Not everyone will like the way I do things, by the way, because I will help you to open. I'm not the person to come to if you are not ready to be and experience the full version of who you are.
Oof, love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Oh, love it. Oh my goodness. So good. So good. So I when you talked about the opening and closing, and then until you're able to look at it and accept it. So it's often that acceptance that is the problem, isn't it? The fact that
Absolutely,
you just can't accept it. It has happened, and you're hoping somehow that the past can be different. And I think I heard Oprah say this one day. It's giving up the desire for the past to be different. That's when you know that you've accepted it. Oh, absolutely. I love it. And then let's move a little bit to the left. Now we've been talking about, trauma where you're dealing in isolation. What about perpetuators of trauma that you are in close-knit relationships with? People that you can't dissociate yourselves with, significant relationships, spousal, parental. What is the onus? What is our responsibility when it comes to dealing in such relationships?
Okay. How I understand that is, what is my responsibility if I am in a relationship?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So it's a very fine line between understanding that you are in it, because a lot of people don't know how to come out. As we said, we come back to the first thing, and I think it ties up nicely to the idea that
what about, I'm not necessarily talking exclusively about relationships that are in or out. So I'm talking about relationships that you can't break up with your sister. Just what I mean. Relationships that are not necessarily like family ties. So yes, there is they're the obvious one. Romantic relationship is abusing me, let me leave. But there are the more subtle ones where it's either family members, and it's a bit more difficult and intricate to what is that responsibility that we have as people? Should we endure? Should we stay because it's this? I mean, what is that line, if at all there is one?
So I would say the minute you start, or rather in the moments of walking on the path to discard what no longer serves your emerging self, you will start to find the courage to create the boundaries you need with your sister, with your mother, with your father, at your own behest. Because it's one thing to become the boundary queen and say, I will no longer, participate in certain family events because when I go here, I find the abusive uncle, or my dad misuses my money, or whatever it is. You can become the person who can create the right kind of boundaries and tell people, no, when it comes to me, this is how far I go in this relationship. But then you can also become the person who allows others to stay in their old version of themselves without them affecting you. So if you have a sister, maybe an older sister, who has been used to commanding the home because she has been perhaps parentified for some reason, and you feel that at this point in your life, you no longer need someone to continue to tell you what to do now that you are an older person, you can find simple ways, because I believe that once you build the courage within yourself to say, you know what, I come first. I have a family and I'm an adult now. At this point, I want to come first. However, I do have a sister who, for some reason, continues to look at life in the lens of fear. She fears everything around her. that's why she tries to control everything, because at some point in her life, the control was taken away. So she feels that she needs to. So I think with family relationships, I do family work. And I always try to, as much as possible, to encourage my clients to come in with their siblings, to come in with their parents, so that these same people support this person on their journey if they want to. In the event that people don't want to support you, then we need to either build compassion around why they continue to be that person to you, which helps you to also be compassionate and say, you know what, this person really is just not being mean to me. Perhaps they also face their own traumas that I really don't get. Because do you know, as siblings, and I've also started to see that, I want to talk to my siblings in this moment as they are now. Often we remember when we are 10 years old, when we're 20 years old, and we don't give our siblings a chance to be who they are now. We have not, all of us have not changed. So essentially, I feel that when you start your journey to uncovering the things that you want to take now forward into your life, you won't necessarily need to fix things with the sibling or to make things better or to say, no, I'm going to cut them off. You will have more understanding in your heart to their pain. And when they can tell that in you, oftentimes people soften as well. Those relationships start to shift. And should they not shift, it's okay for you to just say, you know what, now, today, no, I'm not coming to the family event today because I'm not doing that. I'm not in the mood for that energy. So there are two ways to look at it: compassion or boundaries.
And is self-preservation really, I would imagine, is that the first rule? Like, preserve. It's like if you know that someone keeps hitting you in a particular spot, you know, is it logical? I suppose I'm answering the question as I'm asking it, but preserving, like, okay, they always come and hit me in this particular spot. Let me just root my leg from that place so that they don't come again.
Okay.
Rather than, you know, there's compassion of, okay, yes, but it's not their fault that they hit me in that spot. Just what I mean. I
do. And I think I love that you brought that up, because part of the work is understanding that you are involved in a dynamic. So even if you remove yourself, the leg is still going to kick someone else. Or there will be another, or that leg will come to your house if they will bring yourself here. So I think I have the emphasis, and thank you. You've actually reminded me that most of what a lot of us do, at least as relational-based coaches and therapists, is mapping out at which point you respond to the kick, and at which point they kick, and what triggers what. And in that circle of dynamic, we try to figure out a new way. So yes, some of it's not just compassion and creating boundaries. It's understanding this whole cycle and then trying to change it. It's better when two people are in the room, we can map your cycle together. But when you are alone, we can still do it and try to figure out a new cycle in which you can change things for yourself. So yes, self-preservation is okay, but as a relational thinker, I see things in both the you and the me. I never see things as the self alone, because it often doesn't work when you want to separate yourself.
Oh, love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Oh my God, I could go on and on. This is such a great conversation. It's blessing me. But as we bring the show to a close, I want to ask, in fact, I want to paint a scenario. My good friend, Balade Kuri Mananjo, she's a boundaries coach, and she wrote this great book. I can see it right there on boundaries. And what she did was she just picked short stories set within the African context of different families and different dynamics, and then she used it to teach on principles of boundaries. In one of her stories, I'm going to paint a scenario for you and then pick out, hopefully what I need you to shed some light on. She talks about, in this story, about a man and a woman who were married, loving relationship, and then the woman then gets a job outside the country, and she was very excited about it, came home, told her husband, hey, guess what, I got this job outside the country. It's a great opportunity to the family, it would elevate my status, obviously it would also help us financially and all of that, and she saw it as a really, really good opportunity and a stepping stone to be more, get head on to this vision of greatness that she saw. And then this man then sits and says, hey, I don't understand. Why are you going to be going? You either choose the job or you stay, or you choose me. And then just almost rains on her parade. And she was talking about boundaries. To be honest, I don't remember how that story goes, but I wanted to ask at the end of what exactly she did, whether she went or she didn't. I don't remember. I'll check it out once I'm done. But I wanted to ask the question about, there are my people who are, all be more, do more thinkers, who are starting to, maybe starting to step out, are starting to do more. And then maybe they're in their significant relationships, their partners are looking like, hey, this is new, like, why are you doing this? And, so what would you have to say around the dynamics of such relationships? People who want to be more, but they have significant relationships that are kind of almost pulling them back, or maybe not pulling back, but keeping them where they are. What would you say about the boundaries that relates to that in relationships and in the work that you do?
I would say that what I found often happens is, at some point the couple both were at the same level in their thinking. They were comfortable where they were. They fell in love or stayed together, whether through circumstance or whatever it is, but they built a life together. And that vision worked for them until a point. So I try not to bash the partner who is feeling insecure, who is feeling challenged, because at some point you understood each other. So let's start there. So it's acknowledging that perhaps I am starting to shift. And and this often again happens to women, because I watched something yesterday actually that explained this so well, that when you're in your 20s and you get married, all you want is to please your husband. Then when you're over 40, all you want is to please yourself. So I know it was a comedy, but I found that parts of that true. That at some point, it is about building a life together. It's about supporting either one another, or at least supporting the one spouse to build. Then, as this often happens, again, comes to the authenticity piece. We are not quite taught to be our authentic selves from the start. That's why these problems come. So when I then decide that I want more, because my true self is now coming, I've shed off the not quite fake parts of me, but the parts of me that were societally driven, the parts of me that I was taught. And now I am just me, right? Enough years have gone by for me to realize, whatever people taught me, not all of it is true. The world doesn't tell the truth. The world wants us to be a certain way and conform. But I am no longer wanting to conform, because I realize that that's not really who I am. I want to create. I want more. I want to build. And someone somewhere told me that I can't do it, but now I can. So when my partner now sees that side of me coming out, most times it comes very forceful. So it scares the partner, because it means she is changing. What does it mean? Is she going to leave me? What does it mean? Is she going to, what does it mean? And to be fair, from the men I have worked with who are in this scenario, they don't also know how, they don't have language for what they're feeling too. But what they know is to react, is to control. The world told me I'm the man. How can she be doing this? I have to still be able to tell her what to do. So she must stay with me. All sorts of things happen. So on the one hand, she is becoming herself. On the other hand, he is not sure how to deal with this new version of her. So it becomes a clash. So I think I keep reiterating the idea of understanding and compassion. I know it's not easy, especially in scenarios when that insecurity becomes abuse.
Yes.
We don't condone abuse in any way, shape, or form. So what I would say to that is, as you become who you are becoming, if there is a possibility to be patient with yourself and with him as he figures his way around this new you, try that. Try to live two truths. This is one of the things that I tend to try to use with the people I have conversations with. You can hold two truths at once. Don't be dogmatic about the idea that I need to move and he's stopping me from growing. Understand that he too, in his unhelpful way, is just trying to figure out our new identity. Should we remain together? Because sometimes when you grow, the other person refuses to grow. And you might find yourself saying, you know what, maybe this relationship has done its time. That's a choice you make. No one can tell you. If that's what feels most comfortable for you, go for it. But if you are at a resilience level where you are holding your growth, but also holding the relationship and honoring the fact that you've come from somewhere, take your time. Get someone to help you to see what you're not seeing and map out for you, because sometimes it's just a perspective shift that you need. And it will change the whole relationship. And you can even carry, if this person was the breadwinner and now you are, and you are moving, for example, I'm moving to the UK and I've gotten this opportunity, and sometimes you can shift the whole identity of that relationship, that he now realizes, you know what, it's my time to also support and let her take care. It can happen. So it happens in different ways for different people. So insecurity is a mask for several things. But when it does become abusive, that's a no-no. And that's where certain things have to happen, which is why for me, I love accountability. Don't be alone. As you shift, as you grow, as you become more, as you become your best self and the amazing woman or man that you need to be, just make sure that you have partners, other couples or other friends or other community members who can hold both of you accountable. Because oftentimes people suffer because you're not sharing your truth.
Zvisi, wow, guys, have you been listening to the mind-blowing truths that have come out from her mouth? This has been so revelatory. Thank you so much. I could stay here, like, no joke, and have this conversation go on for hours on end, but obviously we've got to bring the conversation to a close. Thank you so much for bringing all of yourself, and I have no doubt, guys, if you feel like this conversation, you need to hear a part 2, a sequel, I want you to send me a note, send me an email, comment at the bottom of the YouTube, wherever you're watching this, and say sequel, part 2, bring her back, and we will definitely bring you back. Thank you so much. I want you to tell us where my people can find you. Obviously we'll put your details in the show notes, but if there's any specific information that you would like them to know about you, feel free to share it now.
Awesome. So my website is lovinghonestly.com, www.lovinghonestly.com. Then my Instagram is loving_honestly. And Facebook, Loving Honestly, is one word. Yeah, that's it. That's where you can find me. I'm in Kenya. I work mostly online, and you know what? I love to chat. This is my life. Relationships are my life. So if you would love to chat about anything about relationships, please give me a shout.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Please close us out on the show as we go. Just give us your final words and we'll wrap it up. Thank you.
My final words are: believe in yourself. It's hard to do when you are at a place where you're in darkness. But at some point, you need to believe in yourself more than the pain you're going through. And you will start to see light. Ask for help. Just even pray the word, God, help. I don't know what to do and I need something. And it will show up. Believe that you will see it and it will come.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Awesome.